There's a real coordinated narrative out there that the Social Security system is broken, that it's unsustainable, that we need to gut it or privatize it or hand it over to Wall Street. But the numbers don't support that, and neither does public opinion. The overwhelming majority of Americans across all party lines support Social Security. They want it strengthened, not slashed. There's also a running diatribe that there are all kinds of fraud in Social Security and the disability program. That simply isn't true, and there is no evidence or facts to point to this. The reality is that these programs maintain rigorous oversight and have remarkably low fraud rates. Social Security retirement benefits employs strict verification processes to ensure that only eligible individuals receive retirement benefits. Cases of fraud are rare. When they do occur, they have mechanisms in place to detect and address them. Similarly, the disability program has stringent criteria for eligibility, requiring comprehensive medical evidence and thorough evaluations. The approval process is deliberately very rigorous to prevent fraudulent claims. Is there some fraud? Probably a little bit, but not enough to shut the system down. Right? They're continually working to enhance their fraud detection and prevent those from happening. It's important to recognize that no system is entirely immune to misuse. But the notion of widespread fraud in Social Security programs is largely unfounded. These programs are vital lifelines for millions of hardworking Americans, and misrepresentations about their integrity continue to help undermine the confidence in the system, right? And it's harming those who rely on it. Furthermore, recent claims by Musk assert that individuals age 150 years old are receiving Social Security benefits. No, give me a break. Experts have clarified that such anomalies are due to their outdated COBOL-based computer system, right? So when birth dates are missing or incomplete, the system defaults to a reference date, resulting in incorrect ages like 150 years. But it's important to know that Social Security has policies to halt benefits to individuals over 115 years of age. So it helps mitigate the risk of payments to deceased persons. Therefore, these data anomalies do not indicate any fraudulent activity, right? In other words, no one was receiving checks that don't belong to them, right? So then Musk and his Doge team tried to say that minors were getting unauthorized benefits. The reality is that Social Security Administration provides legitimate survivor benefits to children who have lost their parents. So when a parent who has worked and paid into Social Security passes away, their children may be eligible for survivor benefits. So if you're unmarried under the age of 18, you might be eligible for these benefits. Or if they're any age and they have a major disability, they may get these benefits as well. So no kids were getting Social Security payments. That misinformation is misguided because they want to tear down the system of Social Security. The Social Security has stringent measures in place to detect and prevent fraudulent activities, right? It maintains the fraud rate significantly lower than all private sector programs that are out there. So, as a matter of fact, starting April of this year, 2025, the Social Security Administration implemented even stricter identity verification procedures, right, to combat fraud. Right, beneficiaries unable to verify their identity online are now required to visit a Social Security office in person. So, this aims to enhance security, but it has raised concerns as well for accessibility for the elderly and disabled individuals. Because now, at the same time, the Trump administration has announced the planned closure of tons of offices across the United States that these folks would need to go to verify who they are and what their benefits are. They're also implementing workforce reductions, right? They're aiming to decrease the staff of the Social Security Department by 12%, which is around 7,000 employees. Hard to see them processing claims efficiently when they don't have enough people to do it or offices to do it from. They're also moving to discontinue paper checks. This transition poses a challenge for beneficiaries that are older and been accustomed to getting paper checks, right? They get hard for them to adapt to a digital system. So, you know, it's not a fraudulent system, and the dismantling and shutting offices down and people and then changing, it's making it difficult for people to get the systems that they've paid into and they've earned. That should be super frustrating for every American, regardless of what party you affiliate with. So, the real controversy isn't about math, it's about values. Who do we choose to take care of? What kind of country do we want to be? Right? The people and the ideologies that are actively trying to chip away Social Security right now, we're not talking about fringe voices or random internet trolls. We're talking about billionaires, elected officials, media personalities, and entire political platforms. Right? You got Elon Musk, billionaire, calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, or others complaining that it's unsustainable, right? And a lot of Silicon Valley libertarian types have this view that anything involving the government is inefficient, wasteful, or just plain evil. What they're really doing is pushing a view where the ultra rich shouldn't have to contribute to anything that benefits people outside their own tax bracket. I would argue that's their main responsibility. Right? They want low taxes and minimal regulation. They want no obligation to the society that helped create their wealth. But they try to dress it up as some hyper rational language, like they're trying to be efficient or realistic, when really it's just selfishness, right? Then there's more the political side, right? Donald Trump has repeatedly said he wouldn't touch Social Security, but every budget that he's proposed has told a different story. So what comes out of his mouth isn't what he actually does. His administration is trying to cut funding to the disability portion of the program, which helps workers who can no longer support themselves due to major injury or illness. He's also continually floating to raise the retirement age, which might sound fine if your job has been sitting at a desk, but if your whole life has been spent in construction or nursing or factory work, how much longer can you actually work? More recently, Republican lawmakers have proposed privatizing it, right? They've been raising benefit cuts and raising the retirement age even higher, right? Some have gone as far to say, hey, we'd like to phase Social Security out entirely, turning it into, some type of investment accounts that's managed by Wall Street. So take the most stable, guaranteed program in the country and tie it to the stock market, because apparently nobody remembers, say, 2008, for example, right? Let's not forget Rick Scott's plan, right? He's the one who proposed sunsetting all federal programs every 5 years unless Congress reauthorized them. That would include Social Security. And while the idea got pushed back, it's still not off the table, right? These proposals are often wrapped in buzzwords like modernization, fiscal responsibility, or entitlement reform. But let's call it what it is. It's an attempt to weaken or dismantle a program that millions of Americans depend on, so that the wealthiest Americans can avoid paying their fair share of taxes. Right? And here's the real kicker, is that most Americans do not support these attacks. Poll after poll after poll show that people across the entire political spectrum, far left to far right, want to protect Social Security. They don't want cuts. They don't want it to be privatized. They want the system to work for themselves, their parents, their kids, and future generations to come.